They told me my children weren't invited on the New Year's voyage. My brother delivered the news. His teenager chimed in like a junior accountant. Passages cost $3,200 apiece, so enjoy the countdown in your own living room. I know, buddy. My credit card covered every last fare. They uploaded smiling vacation shots that cropped us out. When the horns blasted and they spotted us leaning over the rail, I simply lifted my hand. Cheers to the new year. Turns out you are the ones left on solid ground. I'm Easton, 34, a podcast host who spends his life pressing guests for the truths they try to bury. Married to Jenna, father of two little humans who believe hotel breakfast delivered on a tray is the height of luxury, and in my family I'm the dependable engine, the one whose payment details are permanently saved. New Year's week was meant to be uncomplicated. A shared ship, explosions of light above the sea, grandparents scooping grandchildren at the stroke of 12. I'd reserved everything months earlier as a gift for my parents' 35th anniversary. 12 passages, connecting staterooms for my crew, verandas for the rest, shuttles, excursions, the full package. I even fronted the deposit for my brother Mason because he swore he only needed a couple of paychecks. Then, 48 hours before sailing, Mason rang. No greeting. No how are my niece and nephew. Straight to the point, there's no space for your kids on the New Year cruise. I thought the call had dropped. He switched to speaker. Background noise, television, ice cubes clinking. My 15-year-old nephew jumped in, smug as a loan officer. Tickets are $3,200 each, so happy New Year at home. I stared at the kitchen wall like it owed me an explanation. I know, kid, I answered. Was even because my own children were humming over coloring books nearby. I paid for every single ticket. A pause. A stifled snort. Mason again. We took a vote. Grown-ups only this round. The energy shifts without little ones running around. They're not little ones, I said. They're 7 and 9. Jenna rested her fingers on my forearm. Breathe. Mason sighed like I was the exhausting one. Look, the vessel is sold out. Nothing left to do. You can still send mom and dad, though. Don't be difficult. I stepped into the hallway so my kids wouldn't catch the tremor in my jaw. My pulse felt thick and deliberate. I've recorded hundreds of episodes about limits, resentment, birth order scripts. Funny how all that wisdom vanishes when your own brother declares your children optional. Text me the updated cabin roster, I told him, and forward the receipts for whatever changes you made. He never replied. 10 seconds, 30, then a ping. Group chat. A picture of coordinated outfits spread across a comforter. Shirts that read let the sea set you free. My parents dropped hearts. My sister Ivy typed can't wait. Grown-ups deserve a break. Another ping. Mason, privately, we'll share photos. No hard feelings. I looked at Jenna. She gave the smallest shake of her head. Not yet. I stayed silent. I just saved the image, opened my inbox, and dug up the original reservation confirmations. If I'm good at anything, it's holding proof. This didn't begin with a ship. It began years earlier with countless tiny agreements that felt harmless in isolation. Sure, I'll float the utility payment until payday. Sure, use my streaming logins. Sure, I'll reserve the lake house. You can reimburse me whenever rarely arrived. Or it arrived in drips disguised as gratitude. A Venmo at 2:13 a.m. for $40 with the note legend 3 weeks after a $600 weekend. A wow, a shrug, another wow. Blood, right? Once the podcast grew legs, the narrative shifted. Suddenly I earned real money, which meant I owed the collective. Mason shouted it loudest, but I engineered the consensus. We take care of our own, she'd insist, which always meant I gave and everyone else applauded. Last winter, my parents suddenly died. I purchased them a solid pre-owned SUV and told Jenna it's a present. No expectation. She pressed my hand and whispered, just be certain they understand it's a gift, not an open tab. I nodded. Then I handed over the keys while mom cried happy tears and dad promised tax refund will square us up. And Mason chuckled, or Easton can just deduct it. I smiled. That's my lane. The steady one. The quiet one. I learned early that volume only convinces people you're the issue. So when I orchestrated the cruise, it felt like a project I could captain. A fresh chapter. A memory my children would carry. I reserved early, chose midship rooms so mom wouldn't turn green, covered the beverage package because dad enjoys pretending he can detect notes of brioche, added internet because Ivy panics offline, and linked every reservation under one master file. Mine. We hyped it for months. Group chat alive with countdowns, shore excursion links, dad asking if formal night still required neckwear, Ivy sharing 15-second packing hacks she never finished watching, Mason inquiring about blackjack minimums. I watched my kids select midnight outfits, my daughter picked shoes that lit up like disco balls, my son insisted on a clip-on tie like grandpa's. It felt whole. Then, 3 weeks out, the requests trickled in. Mason, any chance we upgrade our inside to a veranda? Ivy says we should all match. Me, fine. I'll phone. I rearranged and ate the surcharge, convincing myself harmony was worth it. Ivy also, can we connect our room to mom and dad's near the elevators? Me, done. 2 weeks out, Mason remembered he still hadn't settled his balance. Holiday payroll is funky. You get it. I didn't get it. I did notice his wristwatch cost more than my microphone. I told him we'd balance books after the trip. 1 week out, the portal looked strange. The lead passenger on 2 cabins was now Mason. I dialed the cruise line. The representative explained politely that someone sharing the confirmation number and our surname had adjusted contact info for smoother boarding. Can leads delete passengers? I asked. Only the primary can remove or reassign, she said. But since it's a family-linked reservation, any primary can modify linked staterooms. Even if I funded everything. I'm sorry. sorry, sir. Policy follows the registered lead, not the billing card. I updated passwords, reset pins, reclaimed lead status on every segment. I texted Mason with altering the reservation. Ask me if you need something shifted. He answered with a crying laughing emoji. Chill, control issues. 2 days later he tried again. This time an alert showed to juvenile passengers deleted for overoccupancy. I called instantly. After 20 minutes of hold music, a manager picked up. Sir, your relative transferred those juveniles to a different departure date. Those juveniles are my children, I said, each syllable measured because my hands shook. The manager hesitated. Sir, records confirm you paid the deposits for all staterooms. Shall I secure the entire booking so modifications require your verbal authorization? Please, one more thing, she added gently. Your brother attempted to add a third adult to his cabin. That would breach capacity unless minors were displaced. I shut my eyes, declined the addition, secure everything. That evening Jenna and I sat at the table after bedtime. She set her tea down and said, you see what this really is? I do, I answered. I just hate that it's wrapped around something I wanted for our babies. You wanted a celebration. They wanted a subsidy. I nodded. They'll paint me as the monster if I push back. She laced her fingers through mine. They already have. Next morning the group chat lit up with fresh enthusiasm. Ivy posted a meme about complimentary childcare courtesy of grandparents. Mason declared, adults only voyage. No apologies. Mom sent a wink emoji and promised trinkets for the kids. Dad stayed silent, his version of consent. I drafted and deleted a dozen responses. Then I did what I do when the path is murky. I got methodical. I gathered every invoice, every thread. I exported the chat history. I created a folder labeled cruise evidence, not for revenge, for clarity when someone inevitably claimed I misremembered. 2 days before sailing, Mason made the call declaring no room. He disconnected before I could speak. Moments later, new image in the chat, my relatives in coordinated tees, arms around a mountain of luggage. I've captioned, manifesting zero drama, adults edition. Jenna read over my shoulder and said, we can still board. I stared until the pixels swam. We will, I said, just not the way they expect. The showdown never happened face to face. It unfolded exactly how contemporary family warfare does. In the chat everyone claims to despise yet refreshes compulsively. I dropped evidence. The master invoice bearing my name and a total that still made my chest tight. The payment confirmations, call transcripts with the cruise line. The manager's note verifying the lock and the reversal of unauthorized deletions. I wrote, here's the reality. I reserved this voyage for our entire family, emphasis on entire. If you prefer adults only, reserve your own. My children and I will enjoy the trip I funded. Typing bubbles flickered like warning lights. Ivy first, drama queen much. Mason, bro, relax. We were protecting the vibe. You're escalating. Mom, Easton, we assumed it would be simpler. The ship is packed. The little ones would be restless. Jenna finally typed, our children were never the issue. Please stop acting like they are. Mason fired a voice memo, tone artificially level. Dude, you are not torpedoing this. Bags are packed. Stories are posted. Don't mortify the family. I stayed measured. I'm not torpedoing anything. I'm restoring the original manifest. Everyone retains their stateroom. My minors stay in their assigned beds. Any further attempt to erase them, and the person responsible loses their own reservation. Ivy, you literally can't. Me, watch me. Lead passenger. Billing card. Voice verification. Test it. Silence. Then dad, emerging from his bunker. Son, let's be reasonable. Something inside me clicked into place. Reasonable is what delivered us here. New policy, I no longer finance gatherings that exclude my children. Mason, so you are hijacking the vacation? Me, no. I'm enforcing what I purchased. Want different terms. Purchase your own. He pivoted to shame. This is why we never bother asking you. I attached one last file. A spreadsheet of transfers and half repaid favors spanning 3 years. Names redacted. Totals unredacted. The bottom line was eloquent. Mason, spreadsheet warrior, nice. Adult man can interpret it. He vanished from the thread for hours. The chat kept chattering, mom attempting peacekeeping. Ivy sharing luggage organization reels as if nothing burned. I stayed quiet. That night a private message from Mason. You pull anything at the terminal and you are dead to me. I read it until the letters dissolved. Then I set the phone screen down and read my daughter her bedtime story. She asked, are we still going on the giant boat? Absolutely, I said. Just us. Embarkation morning carried that electric road trip feeling. Too much sun, too little sleep, coffee in paper cups. The car smelled of coconut sunscreen and fresh printer paper. My son narrated every passing truck. My daughter clutched her unicorn brush like a talisman. The terminal thrummed with wheeled luggage and excited sneakers. The vessel towered like a city that decided to drift. We snapped a photo for ourselves, no group chat, and joined the queue. At security, I spotted Ivy first. Monochrome travel uniform, oversized sun hat, dragging to suitcases like a fashion editorial. She saw us and froze mid-stride. Then my parents in matching jackets. Dad's smile overstretched. Mason, jaw locked, teenage son already recording vertical video. I nodded. Morning. Mason flicked his gaze to my kids, then me. So this is happening. We are boarding the voyage I financed, I said. He forced a grin. We'll see about that. I didn't bite. We cleared the first checkpoint. The officer scanned passports, chuckled at the unicorn brush, waved us toward the escalator. Behind us, voices rose. Sir, these documents don't reflect a finalized manifest, an officer said. That's ridiculous, Mason barked. We completed everything yesterday. Not for this occupancy configuration, came the reply. You cannot place 3 adults in one stateroom unless. I kept walking. Jenna's fingers in mine, kids practically levitating. waiting. At the final gate, a supervisor greeted us. Mr. Cole, we spoke. Priority access this way. Your suites are prepared. Voice code protection active. No modifications without your approval. Thank you, I said, and meant it deeply. We crossed the gangway. Salt air mixed with new carpet scent. The departure horn bellowed. My son whooped like he'd been waiting his whole life. The knot behind my sternum finally eased. My phone vibrated itself hoarse. I ignored it until Jenna's glance said, "You'll obsess anyway." I opened the chat. Early photos from my relatives, parents on a bench. I view with an overpriced coffee. Mason's selfie-captioned family tradition. Down a few members, but we adapt. Then panic. They've changed our boarding window. Mom, why is my stateroom different? Mason, call me now. I typed, "We're aboard. Try guest relations." He rang repeatedly. I declined. Finally, a photo, a queue at the service desk that snaked out of sight. Caption, "They scattered us." Jenna arched a brow. I lifted a shoulder. I restored the original reservation. If they attempted to smuggle an extra body or erase my kids, consequences are self-inflicted. We located our connecting cabins. Towel swans on the beds like polite extraterrestrials. The children sprinted from balcony to bunk to bathroom as if touring a palace built for them. I exhaled and felt my spine unclench. An hour later we stood on deck for sail away. A band mangled 90s hits. Paper ribbons fluttered sideways. The skyline receded. I rested elbows on the rail with my children, naming tugboats and gulls. Far below on the pier, I spotted them, my blood relatives clustered by a barrier, phones raised, mouths moving in silent fury. They gestured at the ship, at me, at some document flapping in the breeze. I waved, not triumph, just visibility. My daughter waved too because that's how she loves. Mason cupped hands and bellowed something lost to the wind. His son kept filming. Ivy shook her head in slow motion disappointment. Mom dabbed her eyes. Dad scowled. The band hit the refrain. The ship advanced. Jenna murmured, "Want to go down?" Try to smooth it. I studied my children, son gripping the rail like a captain, daughter's shoes sparkling in sunlight. I remembered every time I was instructed to be reasonable, to swallow, to keep the machine running for everyone except the people I swore to shield first. "No," I said. "I don't." Horns blared again. Confetti cannon spot. My phone delivered one last text from Mason. "You did this. You marooned your own family." I replied, "I protected the original plan. You attempted to rewrite the guest list. We are finished with that game." Then I switched to airplane mode. We wandered. The children discovered self-serve ice cream. We claimed a quiet buffet table overlooking endless blue. At sunset, the horizon turned impossible colors. My daughter dozed at dinner with sauce on her cheek. Jenna snapped the photo because some memories stay private. Next morning, the notifications had multiplied like mold. Rents, voicemails, tagged posts. Ivy shared images of their pierside family day captioned, "Sometimes plans shift but love remains." Comments overflowed with pity and shade. Some people let money change them. I never replied. I signed the kids up for cupcake wars and treasure hunts. I took my son to watch the pilot boat race away. I taught my daughter to summon fruit plates like royalty. We watched acrobats flip into a pool while the ocean breathed beneath us. I held Jenna's hand and felt the calm of a life aligned. On day 3, guest services rang. "Mr. Cole, just confirming additional modification attempts were blocked per your security level. Enjoy the sunshine." "Thank you," I said, stunned and grateful. That night under outdoor movies and blankets, Jenna said, "You're quiet." "I'm thinking about what comes next," I admitted. "Then let's design next," she answered. We did, stealing the kids' popcorn. We wrote the boundaries we should have drawn years ago. What we fund, what we refuse, who earns are ours. How many times someone may dismiss our children before we sever the line. "Zero," Jenna said. "Zero," I echoed. New Year's Eve, the deck overflowed with glitter hats. A squadron of children, including ours, ran laps fueled by pure sugar. Midnight arrived with a countdown, a roar from the stacks, fireworks blooming over black water. I kissed Jenna, then the tops of 2 warm heads, and whispered, "This year belongs to us." Among strangers, I saw a father lift his daughter for the photograph, a grandmother twirl a grandson, a couple lean into each other like bookends. I saw what I'd chased and realized I already held it, smaller, truer. The ship's photographer offered our portrait. We accepted. That image would live on our refrigerator, not the shared album. That was the victory. Back home, the messages waited like overdue bills. Fury, fake calm. "Dad, you humiliated us," as though humiliation couldn't be self-inflicted. "Mom, you shattered your father's heart," a phrase engineered to detonate guilt. Ivy's essay on optics and grace that closed with "We'll revisit this." Mason's replies were mostly profanity and fragments of profanity. I listened to 3 voicemails, then stopped. I archived everything into evidence folders, then archived the group chat itself. If I ever need receipts, they exist. If I need serenity, I know where it isn't. I sent one final private message to each. "No audience, I'm finished funding events that treat my children as negotiable. I'm no longer the emergency fund. Speak of my kids like burdens again, and conversation ends permanently. If you want relationship, it arrives with respect. No more blur." I set the phone down and made grilled cheese with my daughter because the world was ending. She required to. The following week, I recorded an episode titled "The Price of Being the Dependable One." I named no names. I simply spoke about assigned roles, how families adore you as a utility, bank, fixer, scapegoat because it keeps their comfort intact. I spoke of boundaries as love letters to your future self. I spoke of family meaning nothing without safety. The inbox flooded. A man who finally froze his sister's access to his accounts. A woman whose mother labeled her selfish for healing instead of hosting. A father who whispered, "Thank you for for saying it out loud. I printed those and placed them in a folder labeled proof. My parents never replied to the boundary text. Ivy sent a treatise on tone ending with let's circle back when emotions cool. Mason fired a middle finger emoji then, 72 hours later, a request for 500 until Friday. I declined the transfer and blocked the number. There was no explosive final, only stillness, muted notifications, empty holiday seats, room in my mind where dread used to camp. In that stillness other sounds grew louder. Stories on the couch, Jenna and me mapping a spring drive full of greasy roadside stops. Dinners with chosen family who arrive bearing wine and zero expectations. Mom's casserole recipe Jenna perfected. My son's 6-minute piano recitals. My daughter forming a band of kitchen utensils. On January 1st we printed the ship portrait. 4 windswept faces. Daughter's shoes blazing light. Son toasting with sparkling cider. On the back Jenna wrote, we chose us. I can't govern how they retell the tale at future brunches, casting me as the villain who sunk the vacation. I can't cure mom's reflex to claim they were only helping when they mean my way or no way. I can't prevent Ivy from editing reality for sympathy likes. I can't install empathy in Mason. What I can do is guard the list Jenna, and I wrote under the stars and stolen popcorn. My children are non-negotiable. My marriage is sacred, not a utility. No is whole. Love is proven in presence. I choose intimate, authentic joy over grand, curated theater. My closing message to each of them still stands. When you are prepared to sit at our table and treat our children like people, the door is open. If that day never comes, we'll be alright. We are not pausing our lives. I stood at the sink watching my son construct a Lego vessel on the countertop because countertops are clearly superior for novel architecture. My daughter asked if we could ride the giant boat again next year. Maybe, I said. But only with us, she declared. Only with us, I agreed. That night, sliding the photo onto the fridge with a magnet shaped like an anchor, I finally understood. The real triumph wasn't the ship gliding away while I waved at people who elected to remain ashore. The real triumph was the weight that dissolved when I stopped trying to haul them forward with me. Happy New Year. Looks like we're the ones sailing on.